Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 3. It is called Ghosts of Illyria. So full spoilers for the episode, as always. And as more or less predicted, we got a focused episode that told us a bit more about some pasts and some of the characters that they were kind of hinting at we get to. I think I was leaning more towards Noonien and Singh's past, and we got actually number one's past instead. But the same sort of relevant thing came up eventually. We got a bit more of like why she has that name and what the connection is now to one Mr. Khan. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, the premise of the episode: they are investigating a now abandoned Illyrian colony on a planet. And there's ion storms in the air, so they've got limited windows to beam people up and down. Pike and Spock get trapped because they can't beam up, so they just have to sort of wait out the storm down this library down below. And up in the ship, number one's in charge and has to deal with the fact that a very weird disease or virus is spreading amongst the crew, where they're becoming addicted to light and want light sources, even at dangerous costs. So we'll talk about all that and more. So we're going to get into it. What did you think of episode 3 of Strange New Worlds?
Still really like it. This one actually might be up there with the best one of the 3 so far. I like the first one a lot. I think this one felt very Next Generation to me, kind of plot.
There was a feeling that I was getting, because I sort of like when she went back up to the ship, Una, and the two, Pike and Spot, were going to be left down, and there was two ways this was going to go, right? One of these was going to be the A plot, one was going to be the B plot, and it could have been the other way around. It could have been, this is about Spock and Pike trying to survive in the surface, and they go through all this turmoil while we occasionally see the ship trying to help, or that's going to be the background plot, and we're going to be on the ship, and a virus spreading. It's hard not to think of oh god,
Naked Now.
Naked Now, yeah, Naked Now and Naked Time. It's hard not to think of episodes like that of the classic shows. So I was like, okay, so they're doing this. It's even episode 3, which is kind of, because I think because Next Gen,
episode 2.
Yeah, it was episode 2 that they did that.
Season 1, before you even know who these characters are. Now all of a sudden they're acting out a character, which was a very strange choice.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. This is a lot easier to.
But that was also late stage. Roddenberry horny perversion.
Well, I thought this was going to get horny because the first time we see something happen is with Una, and she does this thing where she sort of like leans her head back and like rips her top, and I thought, wait, this is getting a bit horny. Like, is this getting sexy? And then none of the rest of them got really sexy, and it makes sense when you understand why she's reacting different to everyone else. You can sort of tell because she lights up and her body lights up, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is she lighting up? And of course, I actually quite like the ad. At first, I was thinking, "Oh, this is going to be like what stupid things going on here." This feels like a lot of weird things happening, and they're not. By the end of the episode, though, when it was revealed what she actually is that she herself is Illyrian, and I'm sure Illyrians have been mentioned before in Star Trek, but or have they?
I think it comes from the books.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to say I knew she was not human, and she was something that was a bit stronger than humans, but I wasn't. And the name Illyrian didn't sound new to me, so okay. I want to say I heard it like through a podcast previously, because I also knew her first name also comes from the book series. Because
she lights up, and we find out later that she is Illyrian, and the big thing about Illyrians, and I'm mostly just learning all this for the first time here, and seemingly so are you, but barring maybe some vague recollection that you're getting from another source, is that Illyrians have wanted to join the Federation in the past, but they're not allowed to because their entire culture is about body modification and eugenics and things like that. So because they're all about changing their bodies to fit, and I actually kind of like, because Una later on describes it as, well, when most of these other species in the Federation go to a new planet and colonize it, they terraform the planet. The belief that Illyrians have is that they terraform themselves to fit the new atmosphere. And I'm like, do you know, when you put it like that, it doesn't sound that silly.
No, it really doesn't. It's not like they're trying to do it to better themselves so that they can be better at war or like...
Yeah.
And, Una's from a different colony of Illyrians, so she doesn't have the same thing that these guys do. or what they were trying to adapt to.
Yeah, the key thing she has, though, she has like a really cool immune system. That's what the lighting up is, because no one else lights up. That's just her immune system kind of fighting this virus. And then we see how everyone else reacts to it, which is like breaking glass to get to a light, or later on, you know, what's the first name? Noon things for Lan. I'll remember it eventually. Lan, like she's like trying to like overdrive the warp cord because it's going to be a big light show, and she wants to just absorb the light. And I'm like, that's going to kill everyone. What are you doing?
Yeah, Hammer just like transports a piece of the mantle of the planet because he just wants to feel heat since he's blind.
Yeah, he can't see it. Yeah, so he sort of like observes it in a different way. But
I thought it was going to be neat that he would be immune to it or something, but he isn't. It just adapts to a different to his own morphology.
They do remind us in this episode, because at one point where long before everyone's infected and it's just like the one case, when Una's talking to him, she gives him a look at one point and he goes, "I can sense that expression." And she's like, "I know." So it kind of reminds us that he's still, you know, I'm just in my head to make it work. I'm thinking it's kind of like Daredevil. He can kind of like see things in a way.
Yes. I mean, he still has eyes, so I imagine they just don't see in the same way we do. And then most of his like sensory perception comes from his little, you know, wiggly doos on the top.
His wiggly doos. That's the technical term we're going with, is it? So yeah, so she does instant, you know, so there's this reaction where she's kind of like feeling the light, but then she fights it, and then we start to see other people on the ship start to react, and they get taken to sick bay. And you know, this show has done such a good job of like not only having the main character that we're focused on, so this is obviously mostly an Una episode, but with a fair bit of Noonien Singh's character revealed and their relationship explored a little bit, and we don't get find out everything about their past together, but we do get like a little bit of sense of it, and comparing how she feels about being the descendant of Khan, which she, you know, brings up in this episode, and how that makes her feel about people who do modify themselves and cultures that modify themselves, and then confronting that with Una's actual like, this is my culture, this is what my race is, we do this. That's an interesting comparison.
I love the idea of Khan living up to his name of Genghis Khan and just Genghis Khaning it before he goes into the pod, into the Botany Bay. Yeah,
because she talks about like the prejudice she faced when anyone would hear her name. Just it's like, you're associated with someone from eugenics, so we do not like you.
Horrible time in history. Yeah, and
that's the thing at the end of the episode when Una is making her log, because she starts and ends the narration of the episode with her logs, is that, you know, like Pike, when he finds out, because she confesses to, because she's already told the doctor, and she keeps it secret for a while, but then when everyone's like, it's like a plague in the ship, you know, where everyone's infected by it at this point, she confesses to the doctor in chapel that, hey, this is going on, this is, you know, I'm Illyrian, this is why I fought it off, and ultimately they use antibodies that are created because she's with La'an when the core's like overgoing or whatever. But at the end, when she goes to Pike and sort of just confesses to him and is resigning because she's technically lied about who and I thought of the drumhead a little bit when she was doing this, because that was someone who lied about their
thing to think about
heritage. And Pike's like, I don't care, I don't give a shit.
Right? I like his standing up for her, like I mean, if people come after them, like, let them. I have so much ammunition to say like why you're valuable here, and why like it doesn't. I'll fight for you, like, if it comes to that.
And obviously the argument that might be that, well, the reason why she had to lie about this is because we have this prejudice that she had to overcome, so that's on us for feeling this way. But I also really like when she makes her personal log at the end, that she sort of says, you know, I should be happy that Pike is willing to fight for me the way that he is, but I also have this like little, and this is not necessarily that it's true that Pike would be any different, but she has this little seed of doubt, which is, well, what if I hadn't just helped save everyone? What if I wasn't a hero? What if I was just Illyrian? You know, this idea that she has to go above and beyond to earn her place because she's Illyrian still feels kind of shitty, versus just being accepted by default. So, you know, there's some natural comparisons and allegories for any type of prejudice in there with that statement.
And also like her standing up for Lon, because I imagine, I don't know if we talked about it yet, but that's the reason why she was the one who like survived the battle royale thing, was because she has some Noonien Singh bloodline.
Yeah,
and who knows if that just means that there's that whole, you know, bloodline is just a bit better at things than other people.
She's a little bit, possibly physically superior because of that. And what I think is interesting about that actually is that when they do fight, when Anne's like freaking out and acting like a junkie who needs light, and she's going to like destroy everyone, they end up fighting. And it did occur to me in that moment that both of these characters are actually more than human to an extent. They're both at least somewhat enhanced.
Yeah, we just saw Una like carrying Hemmer over her shoulder like he was a paperweight.
Which is good. That was a funny visual. I did laugh though. You can actually sort of tell the shot where she's like picking him up, where they cut to a wide shot, and I'm like, that's a body double picking him up. Like, because I don't know how they were. Sure. I don't know how they were faking it when she was carrying. I don't know if it's maybe just easier once.
I'm sure it's just a dummy because you just see a butt and legs.
Yeah. So either it's a dummy or maybe it is just a little bit easier if someone places them on her shoulder. But the shot where she actually picks him up and puts him over her shoulder, I'm like, okay, there's a reason why we're only seeing her from behind in this shot, because this is like someone tougher and stronger who's picking him up.
Yeah, probably.
Which is cool. Which is fine. But like, so the thing I was getting at earlier though is that each episode's done a good job of focusing on a character, but also doing a good job of like making us get to know a side character as well. And the Doctor wasn't even in the last episode, but the Doctor this episode, we learned some things about him. And
I love this stuff.
Well, we'll get to what the secret is in a minute, but like, even before we get to that, the idea that he has like a moral code, the idea that he wants to save people, that he's willing to throw out regulations, like he doesn't, when he finds out that she's Illyrian, he's like, I don't give a shit about regulations. Like, I'll happily mix your blood with everyone else's if it's going to save people.
Well, that's what Chapel says too. Yeah. She's like, it doesn't matter. Like right now, all that matters is that you might be able to save everybody. I do. She really like just like, I don't care.
Like, I don't like what Picard and parts of Discovery did to the Federation because it made them seem like a bunch of pricks. But I do like this idea that even in this like golden age of like the Federation that we think of in Star Trek, that there is still like we still have to challenge the Federation a little bit, and all the rules aren't necessarily for the best.
Like the Prime Directive seems like a really great rule, but we have like so many episodes where it's like, come on, guys, you gotta save them. So, you gotta break the Prime Directive here.
Inherently, we appreciate the characters who are smart enough to challenge what these rules are, because there's a fine line where they can just be breaking rules left and right for no good writing reason, and that's when it starts to feel disingenuous and you feel like it's just a bunch of bullshit. But here it's like, no, these characters are saying, no, we will break these regulations because saving the people on this ship is more important. So I like that. So yeah, we get to know the Doctor a little bit more, and we get to know his name's Mbenga. Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to not learn his name because I just call him the Doctor all the time. But I think
it's Mbenga, so it's just
Mbenga.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a little bit of him, a little bit of this Chapel, which is great. Obviously, he has the bigger revelation though of the episode is the reason why. Because this is the thing, they set this up earlier in the episode, and credit where credit's due, because I was ready to not like be mad about it, but I was like, when they said like the transporters are meant to catch like anything that they don't recognize and block it out or whatever, so viruses shouldn't come up, right? There's like a natural quarantine thing happening as they beam up, right? That's just a standard Star Trek thing. When they sort of say, well, it should have caught it, and they kind of fob it off, and I think Pike, when he comes back, before we get the scene with the Doctor, he's like, oh, it was a transporter, a malfunction in the sensors or whatever. And I was like, oh, they're really just going to hand wave it like that? That feels a bit lame. So I was actually really pleased that there was actually a reason, which is, no, the medical transporter wasn't like maintained like the others because he's hiding something in there that he doesn't want anyone else to tamper with. And then what it actually is turns out to be this really dramatic thing where his dying daughter, who's terminal, he's keeping alive by just keeping her in the transporter like memory. Yeah.
I love this. I mean, you just watched Relics, where Scotty's been like in a transporter beam for 75 years or something. And I just think like after that episode, came out, it sort of should have changed everything about Star Trek. People could just live forever, or at least like people who have incurable diseases might be like, well, can you like put me in a safe facility where you could store my code for another 1,000 years?
It's more like freezing. So I wouldn't say people could live forever because you're still having to pause your life for the time that you're in there.
Yes.
But Yeah, for people
it
who
probably does feel instant.
Yeah,
You know?
but for people who have illnesses or something that can't be cured yet, yeah, there's a good reason to be like, well, can you store me somewhere? And then maybe in 500 years, maybe there'll be a cure.
I mean, there's always a risk, you know. You can lose a code, and then you just die. You just don't. I guess it's kind of like going under for surgery. There's always a risk you don't wake up.
But if you're dying anyway, you may as well take the chance.
Right. Yeah. So I love that this is addressed here, because like someone's using that thing that was established in Trek, which should have, you know, changed a lot of stuff. And we're like, why don't we just use this? Like, this is a really great tool that doctors can use, or, you know, even for him, this is very personal, and maybe it's a faux pas to do it or something. Because I mean, I'm sure it's a faux pas for him to have his daughter stored on the ship like that.
I think that's the thing. Like he acknowledges that this problem was caused, and he almost got everyone killed because of what he'd done, and obviously it's against the rules. And I like that Una says, look, we'll give it its dedicated power source so it can be separate from the system, so that it doesn't affect the transporter use, but you can still keep her stored. Even though in theory, if she's going by the book, she should be like, yeah, you should like say your goodbye and like say good, you know, like end this, you know, bring her out, let her die or the death that she's supposed to die, and like move on. But
or like drop her off at some medical facility where. Yeah.
But because I think one, it makes us like her more as a character, because this is a very sympathetic thing she does by saying, no, well, we'll make it work and do it separately. But
especially since it just happened after her thing with Pike, where he says the same thing to her.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at, is that the main thing here that this works from a writing perspective is that her entire existence in Starfleet is a bending of a rule. And it's bent because she believes that she has good intentions, that she wants to be part of Starfleet and be a good influence. And maybe once everyone does learn what she is, that'll be a good, like, because even Pike says, you know, like, all of our prejudices about Illyrians are wrong, and you've proven that. And the idea that could change more things in the future by proving that over time and connections and people and being in Starfleet. So the idea of, like, bending this rule for him coming naturally to her makes sense, because she kind of like, yeah, the rules should be bent once in a while. I am in Starfleet on a bent rule, so I am going to bend the rule as well to help you save your daughter potentially, and hopefully one day you can save her properly. Of course, they can't show her too much, because we see her at the end of the episode when he brings her out, because he says he has to bring her out once in a while and he'll read a story to her and send her back in, because the actress is going to age, so they can't like she can't stay the same age in 5 seasons time, because she's going to have doubled in age. So
yeah. Also, I remember wasn't there another doctor in the episode The Cage, like this old white guy? So I wonder if like Dr. Mbega like even is around the entirety of the show. So he might leave eventually.
He could be
replaced by some other guy.
Well, no, I mean, you say that, but he could be in the entirety of the show and leave in the finale, like just in the very final episode of the show. He could say,
true. I mean, this is still like 8 years or something before.
Yeah, like just because he's not there, just because characters are not in the cage, does not mean that they cannot be here for the entirety of this show and just leave. Like, just say they're leaving at the end of the last episode. Like, just we're all moving on to other things.
Yeah,
on the finale. So it's
yeah, that's true.
It doesn't mean a dramatic exit halfway through the show. It's just what I'm trying to say.
They could also just recast her.
Yeah.
Like, we need you to stay the same age, so
that said,
we gotta get another 10-year-old.
Yeah, that said, though, the characters that aren't in the cage or aren't in the original Star Trek series, yes, they have the option of giving them dramatic deaths at some point, because they can.
Yeah.
You know, it's on the table.
Maybe Dr. Mbega was there, but I thought I remember like someone who's sort of like a Bones type also being there.
Like
it's
a
been
prototype.
A little while since I've watched it. Yeah. I just remember him drinking whiskey or something with Pike, talking about, you know, having women on the bridge or something stupid.
Yeah, things definitely changed.
I should revisit that.
Yeah. So
yeah, the entire bridge is women other than Pike in this show, which is great.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, pretty much is. I love seeing Hemmer do more stuff where he's trying to solve things, because he's the one that fixes the transporter when they're struggling to beam up everyone at the start. He's the one who does some magic miracles in his transporter work, and so we get to see a bit more of him, which is great. Uhura's got a little bit here or there as well. Basically, Una realizes that it's light that's spreading the virus, because Uhura avoids it because she like shuts off her pod like when she's sleeping in her bunk, so it's completely dark. and she wakes up to like her two roommates being like junkies, like, oh, this light is great, isn't it?
Yeah. They have like that sunshine moment where you can see like their skin is they're either sunburned or like starting to peel even.
Yeah, because they've basically done a simulation of like a sun or something like in the middle of the in the quarters. Yeah. So
it was good. I liked everyone's acting in it, like when they're all going crazy.
Yeah, there's a nice little moment actually where the doctor, because he doesn't want and you realize later it's so he won't find out about his daughter in the code. He like flips off the switches to all the light switches to make it look like Hemmer's like affecting the power in the med bay, so that it'll go away and stop tinkering with things. But you see him like turn on the lights again afterwards, so you're like, oh, that was a lie. He tricked him for some reason. And then later we sort of find out why.
Yeah, later on before he gets put under, he's like trying to he's talking to Una, and he's like trying to do stuff, but there's like this strip of light above that he like a moth just kind of goes to it while in the middle of talking. It was a good moment. He kind of catches himself though, or I think someone maybe Una pulls him out of it.
Yeah, and then Una and Anne have this sort of moment afterwards where they're kind of it's kind of like a bittersweet conversation, because it's like, yeah, we just kicked the shit out of each other. And also like I think Anne called her a filthy modified, but I can't remember what the exact phrase was, but she basically, it was almost like a slur for people who are like augmented. Yeah, you filthy augment. And they have to have this conversation, and she's like, and you sort of realize that maybe the reason why she sympathized with her all those years ago, well, you know, why Una sympathized with Anne and all the grief she got, is because she was Illyrian, because she understood and sympathized that she was getting like discriminated against for being connected to someone who's modified and augmented. So basically what I'm saying is that a lot of the things in this episode, like, it made a lot of the character decisions and relationships just make more sense, and that's good. That means that they at least thought out some of these like character dynamics for the start of the show. So you know, they're working so far. They're working fairly well.
Pretty well, yeah, definitely.
Which is good. So,
and not a lot of Pike in this episode.
Oh, so it's your favourite. Is that what you say? It's your favourite. Yeah, Pike and Spock are down on the surface, and they, they're just hiding from the storm. Spock's reading some of their records, and it sounds like they wanted to join the Federation, and they effectively wiped themselves out of existence because they were trying to like take away their modifications. So they were actually trying so hard to be in the Federation that they were giving up what they were, which is actually kind of sad. But they effectively became part of the storm. So we actually, later on, the storm's breaking into the building, and the beings that these like electrical beings like protect them from the storm, and then Spock sort of like theorizes that this is actually them. They became this when they were trying to change. So now they're just part of the like electrical ghosts, effectively.
Damn ion storms, they're always screwing up Star Trek.
I know, it's funny because I just watched the Next Gen episode where ion storms were messing with the teleporters.
Oh, which one did you watch?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember now. There's one of those Next Gens with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a pretty big one that I don't know if you've seen yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
Where someone gets split into two. No,
it wasn't that.
Okay.
Wasn't that?
There's that. That's how the mirror universe also transporting during an ion storm.
Yeah, ion storms. At least there's some consistency though, because at least when an ion storm comes up, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I do like to joke how many M-class planets there are on Star Trek. Oh, it's convenient how there's so many M-class planets for the main cast to walk on.
Yeah. You know how you know it's M-class is because there's plenty of rotten berries to eat.
That was a terrible joke.
It's a Futurama joke.
I'm ashamed at Futurama.
Oh, it's a fantastic joke. I love that one.
I'm ashamed. But did you think, see the first guy who gets symptoms, he's just like a red shirt, but I don't know if he was literally in a red shirt, but that's what he was. He looked like a young Loki. I was getting like Tom Hiddleston off him.
I thought he looked a bit like Timothée Chalamet.
Well, now that you say that, like Timothée Chalamet and Tom Hiddleston could probably be related. They look like they could be brothers.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they look different to me, but I could see how this guy's kind of a blend of him. He's got a big career ahead of him, if that's the case.
Well, I don't think he ever has a line of dialogue though, so maybe he's shit at talking. Maybe he can't talk.
He talks. He talks about the light, needing more light.
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah. When he's bashing his head against the glass, yes.
Right, yeah.
Quite right. Yeah. So.
Bit of is that like a Bird Box opening from that film where people just start going crazy and bashing their heads against the windows and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a completely dissimilar, like, virus style thing. Yeah. So even something like The Happening is kind of, I'm not comparing this to The Happening or saying that this is taken from The Happening, but
I think we've had wind viruses before in Star Trek.
Probably. Certainly plants. I'm sure there's been a plant like is trying to fight back episode.
Yeah, in the original series, there's one that doesn't it cause like hallucinations and stuff?
Oh, that sounds right. That's very Black Mercy from Superman. That.
Just all the pop culture all coming into one.
Well, they're all influenced by each other, so it makes sense that a lot of them are overlapping, and we're kind of been reminded of some and others, and things like that. Spock gets cut this episode. We see a bit of green blood coming out.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was, fun.
Sure. Nice little reminder.
It's fun to see it, for a change. Yeah. The end of the episode is quite sad because Una records this first officer's log. She talks about being Illyrian and her doubts about would Pike feel the same way if she hadn't just saved the entire ship, and then she deletes it. It's actually a really sad moment where she says delete the log because she can't have any records. She's too worried that someone else will find out, so she deletes the log, and we end in kind of a downer.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are for personal logs. I know people can access them, but it seems to only be in cases of, well, we need to know what happened, so we're going to go through their personal diary or whatever.
Well, I assume there's a time thing where once this ship's mission's completed, all the logs would go into a sort of officer access records system or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it tends to come up when it's okay, well, has anything ever happened that we can compare this to figure out this, they did it in it. Next Gen's done it a couple of times where they're bring up the log of, Engineer Scott from the original Enterprise.
Yeah. There's a famous episode in Deep Space Nine where Cisco also has a delete log at the end of it, where it is kind of the same thing, where it's more like they just need to say it to get it out of their system, and then to follow that procedure, and then delete after that.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what the rules are for personal logs. Is it just if someone's died, do you have access to it, or if something's happened to the ship and people need to have, whether or not they're dead, they still need to have access in order to figure out what's happened, or what. So I'm not sure what the rules are.
Yeah, don't know. Okay. I appreciate each episode making a point of really letting me get to know at least a couple of characters per episode. So we're getting to the point now where we've gotten a good amount of most of the characters. There's still a couple that could probably use a real focus, like the main characters have had, but
I want a Hammer episode because I'm into Hammer.
Yeah. Hammer's been good so far. So I'm sure we will. I have no doubt that at least at some point this season we're going to get a story that's focused largely on Hammer.
Yeah, he seems to be the Worf of this series, and I'm into it.
That's a fair comparison. Yeah, fair comparison. Good episode. I would say again.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised. There's 3 in a row that have been entertaining and not pissed me off. This is weird. What sort of new Star Trek is this?
Yep, it's Star Trek, all right.
Oh well, it's just nice. It's nice not to be upset and angry and spouting hatred. Yes. Okay, well, let us know what you thought of this episode of Strange New Worlds in the comments. You can like and subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. You can get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonus content and all that stuff. Of course, check out all the other stuff that we've been doing. Me and Connor have been reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation for years at this point. We're on season 6, so go check out our thoughts on that. Or myself and Tara here have been doing Babylon 5, and we also have a science fiction movie podcast called The Atomic Cinema Experiment over in Male Fuzz Movies, so go check out that. And see us talking about stuff like Event Horizon and how it's not that good and other things. So there you go. So
Still upset about it, huh?
I'm upset anytime I have to watch a Paul W.S. Anderson movie, okay?
You put it in the vote, so it's your own fault.
Wait, you added it to the vote. You told me to put it in the vote.
You said, what are some 90s aliens movies? I don't know. Event Horizon.
I mean, I should have known the patrons would have voted for it. They enjoy putting me through pain too much. That is us, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep watching Star Trek and, go forth into strange new worlds and explore. Ta-ta.